A fiery speech on guns by a Virginia delegate running for Senate causes Democrats to walk out of the room. Watch this.
If we want to have an open and honest debate, I am all for that. Let's do that. But it does start with a certain degree of mutual respect. It starts with a certain degree of not assuming that the only reason why we believe in the Second Amendment is because the NRA paid us off. Well, if that's the sort of logic you want to use, why don't you go take a look at how much money the NRA spends and how much money Planned Parenthood spends?
That speech now going viral, topping 10.5 million views. Joining us right now is Virginia delegate and Army Special Forces veteran Nick Freitas. He's running to unseat Hillary Clinton's running mate, Senator Tim Kaine, down in the great state of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Good morning to you, Nick.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So what the news accounts we have read is you got started on that when you were responding to the criticism that Republicans have blood on their hands for failing to act on school violence, right?
No, that's correct. That's correct. There's a number of factors that we're trying to address with this issue, but it always gets reverted right back to gun control as being the only potential solution. And then on top of that, some of the rhetoric that has been used to describe us has just been completely unacceptable. And at that point, I just gotten tired of it.
I want you to, we're going to play a soundbite of someone who was offended by your speech. And this is Democratic Delegate Joseph Lindsay. Listen to this, and then we want to get your reaction.
Today, I have been offended as I can never recall since being a part of this body. And I have seen many of my colleagues emotionally shaken and bothered by either a lack of concern for facts, or just simply playing to the media, playing to the cameras.
Nick, what do you say to him?
Delegate Lindsay is a good and honorable man, and I certainly didn't intend any offense toward him. But one of the things I get concerned about, especially with this argument and the whole left-right paradigm, is that more and more offense is used as a weapon in which to turn away debate. And I'm not going to accept that. If there's a way that I can convey my message to where Delegate Lindsay won't be offended, but we can get the point across, I'm happy to do that. But what I'm not going to accept is sitting there listening to some of his Democrat colleagues refer to me, compare me to a Nazi, compare me to a segregationist. I had one of his Democrat colleagues in a subcommittee meeting tell me that if I didn't vote for his particular bill, then I was on the side of terrorists and I wanted weapons to fall in the hands of terrorists. What sort of offense do you think someone like me with 2 combat tours who has lost friends to terrorists thought about something like that? Yeah. So if we're going to get back to meaningful dialogue, it's going to require a certain level of mutual respect. If Delegate Lindsay can help me understand what part of my remarks were offensive, I'd be glad to have that discussion with him. But we have to be honest about what's really going on in our schools, what's really going on in our communities. Right. And I'm not going to accept this false narrative that constantly gets thrown at Republicans and conservatives because we support Second Amendment rights. Right.
You both have different points of view, but ultimately you're both trying to figure out a solution to school violence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, we have to look at all of the factors, because if we're just looking at guns, then we're not taking into account the fact that there was a major breakdown in communication within law enforcement. We're not taking into account that we have some of these kids dealing with mental health disorders that we need to properly address. We're not dealing with other school security issues that we need to. So we need to take a comprehensive look, while at the same time remembering that the reason why we have the Second Amendment is so people can provide for their own self-defense.
All right. Nick joined the Army after 9/11, volunteered for the U.S. Army Special Forces, the Green Berets, and served 2 tours in Iraq. Thank you for serving our country.